Everyone, welcome back to the Opulent Life. Back again into the new setup we have, still with the natural lighting. Struggling a little bit over here, but we're gonna try to make it work while we improve the lighting situation. But I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So today we are reviewing a Pagani design watch. Now, this is a follow-up on the type of reviews I mentioned I'll be doing earlier, where I'm going to own the watch for a certain period of time and then give you an actual review with a little bit of the unboxing, rather than just getting it in the mail, opening it and getting super excited and missing out on key elements that may actually be a negative. So this is what I did with this. I bought the Pagani design GMT watch, which looks a little bit like an homage of the Rolex Batman. So I kept this watch for about a year and a half before I'm giving you this review. So everything that I tell you is based on both usage, long-term usage, and what my impressions are and how I felt over the time I've owned this watch. So without further delay, let's get into it. So this is how the packaging arrives. There was a white covering on this too, which I discarded because in the move I had to get rid of some things, but I held on to the packaging for now just to show you guys, and probably after this review I'll just discard it too. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's a plain box, a Pagani design and logo on it, and on the side you just have a barcode. I got this from Amazon and I bought it for around, I'd like to say, how much did I get this for? About $75 is what I got it for a year and a half ago. It wasn't a great deal. So it is very reasonable, extremely reasonable. If you consider the Rolex Batman, the Rolex GMT actually, I think retails around, the retail is around maybe 10, 12K, I think. But in actuality, in the market, you can find it for about $17,000 to $18,000. Maybe even more than that, maybe a little bit less than that, but that's kind of around the price range I've seen it float around. But so that's really expensive. Now this, on the other hand, $75. That's a huge difference. So obviously, you know, if you're into the look but you're not into the price and you're not exactly a Rolex fan, this may be a way to satisfy the itch. So let's open the box. It's got a magnetic catch here. Open it up, and then you have this cloth for cleaning the watch, and then here's the watch itself. As you can see, I'm just gonna wipe off some of the dust on it. So this is what it looks like. Nothing else in the packaging aside from styrofoam and this guarantee card. Aside from that, there's a user manual. Interestingly, I never saw that before, but here it is. It's got some instructions for use. Nothing you haven't seen before. So yeah, and then inside just have some spare links, which I've taken off for adjusting for my wrist. And then you have this tag. So that's all that comes in the box. And then you have the watch itself. Take this off. So this is the watch itself. As you can see, unmistakably, it does resemble, it's pretty much a one-to-one copy of the Rolex GMT with the black and blue bezel. And in this case, well, obviously it's not, you can't call this a counterfeit because the name and the logo is different. It's Pagani design, it's not Rolex. So but this is a direct homage, and if you're into the look but you cannot afford the price, or you're not into the Rolex brand itself and their pricing and the way they make it so hard for you to buy the watch, then this is an acceptable alternative. And I decided to review this for that reason, so that you guys have a good idea of what this watch is and who it's for. So let's talk a little bit about the design. As I just said, pretty much a one-to-one copy of the Rolex GMT. You have a 40mm case, and water resistance on this is rated as 100 meters. And then you have the bezel with the ceramic ring with black and blue, black for the PM and early hours of AM. Then you have the blue ceramic portion for the daytime, basically the PM or the late AM and early PM hours. So yeah, and then you have a black dial. It's a matte black dial, and then you have these markers that are applied from at each hour index, and then you have a blue GMT hand, and then you have the Mercedes style Rolex hand for the hours, and then you have the straight hand for the minutes, and then you also have a loomed second hand. The movement is a Pearl DG5833 GMT. It's a Chinese movement. No surprise here, given the price range. The lug width is 20 millimeters. And I also already mentioned the water resistance is 100 meters. Lug to lug, it wears very nicely, very easy to wear. It is about 48 millimeters lug to lug. So it fits most hands, and you shouldn't have a problem with it. I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and it looks perfectly fine on it. I'll actually show you. I'm actually wearing right now the Richard Mille Sega design. It's not the Richard Mille. See that? How it gets you? It's not the Richard Mille. This is the Sega design Z series watch, which I reviewed earlier, and I'm wearing this on my left hand. So I'll just wear this on my right to show you guys how it looks. And wears really easily. Actually, it won't fit. My right wrist is a little bit tight, but just to show you guys, this is how it looks. Pretty nice. And then we'll talk about the bracelet and clasp in a second. So what else is there to talk about? So this, I mean, they give you a 1-year warranty, but you know, at this point, it's pretty much beyond warranty. So we'll talk about how the usage was overall. It's a fully stainless steel design. You have polished sides over here and here. And then the bracelet is a Jubilee stainless steel bracelet with brushed outer links and polished center links. Very smooth and crisp. I've heard people have had issues with the bracelet where it's not smooth and crisp, where it kind of like, you know, gets stuck a little bit. But here it doesn't get jammed up anything like that. I've had no issues. It's been buttery smooth for me all across. And so I've got nothing bad to say about the bracelet. I love the Jubilee design. Some people hate it. I love the Jubilee design. I like it a little bit more than the oyster clasp that Rolex uses. And then you have 2 crown guards here, and then the crown is a screw down crown. Got multiple positions for setting the time. There is hacking and hand winding, obviously. And then yeah, so coming back to the crown, you do have signage on the crown over here. Now, the crown is probably one of the weak parts of this entire watch, as finding the position for the date and the GMT has been a little bit tricky. Now, I've gotten used to it over the 1.5 years that I've had this watch, but in the beginning, I found it very hard to distinguish between the position where the date changes and the position where the actual time changes. So with time, I've gotten used to it. My fingers have gotten used to how to set this watch, but it hasn't been the most pleasurable experience. The crown itself leaves a lot to be desired, but it does the job, and I've not had any problems with, you know, setting the time. As such, it hasn't stopped on me, hasn't broken apart, hasn't fallen apart. So from that perspective, I'd say that it's pretty successful. So yeah, so you do, once you're in the first position, doing it clockwise winds the time. Nothing else is done in this position over here. And then if you go to the second position, you do have the Cyclops date window here. So if you move it clockwise, you can change the date. And if you move it counterclockwise, you can change the GMT hand. As you can see here, the GMT hand changes. There you go. And that's it. You click it back in place, and you're back to position 1. So you have 3 positions. Actually, technically 4 positions if you include this as a position 2, where it's all locked in. So position 1, locked in, nothing moved. Position 2 would be just for winding. Position 3 is for setting the date, and the GMT. Position 4 is for moving the time around. Now, so that's the date window. It is pretty nice. It's at the 3 o'clock position. I have not had any eligibility issues, but obviously the finishing is not as great as you would see on an actual Rolex. So keep that in mind. This is a $75 watch, or maybe a $9 watch in today's time. So when you're judging it, judge it accordingly. Do not judge it and compare it to something that's very high end, because you will be disappointed. Now the ceramic ring, I think it's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice touch. I really love ceramic on watches, and I've got a few watches that are in ceramic, and I absolutely love them. So this is the look itself is very nice. Moving the bezel. Now, even though this is a GMT watch, the bezel moves like it is a dive watch, unidirectional in one direction from anti-clockwise only. It doesn't move in two directions. Now, a GMT bezel should move in single clicks from in either way, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 here, and then 1 2 3 4 5 6 on the other side too. So it should be like 12 clicks in either direction, and a bi-directional bezel for a true GMT watch. Now this is not a true GMT watch. You are using it like a dive watch, so that is an issue. I think they could have, this is something that they could have fixed. They could have kept it a bi-directional 12-hour bezel. They did not need to give a diving bezel on this. It just doesn't fit the purpose on a GMT watch. There's no point. You can use it, but I mean, this was an easy fix, and it would have actually made their lives easier. The bezel is okay. If you rate it as a dive bezel, there is a very slight amount of play, not too bad. Some people have had severe issues with the bezel play where it goes a lot more back, but mine, as you can see, is pretty good. There's very little play in here, hardly at all. So I have had no issues with alignment even. So you can see it perfectly aligns over here. So they basically took in some of the comments in the earlier versions, and they improved the later versions, what I'm getting at. And it looks like they've done a decent job. Gripping the bezel is a little bit tricky. Your hands are slippery. There's a bit of an overhang, as you can see, so that does help, but the grip is not the best. And then obviously the ceramic bezel is not lume, but the inside dial is lume, and the lume is completely blue. It's not the typical super luminova blue that you see on the Omega Seamaster, where it has a blue-green type of tint. This is actually fully blue. Now, I don't know if I can show you guys. I'll try it towards the end, but it is, I mean, the color itself, it's not very legible. It's kind of hard, and natural lighting does charge it up better than artificial torches I've seen. But it doesn't last very long, and it dies out in about a few minutes, maximum 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then it goes away. So I mean, that's to be expected in very cheap lume, but it's at least there, so you can use it for the time it's there. It is not as bright as you would like it to be, but again, you know, it's a $75 watch. I mean, how much are you going to complain about? Let's talk about back. So the case, there is a see-through case bag, which is what distinguishes it from the Rolex, which has a closed case bag. So you can see the movement, nothing special. There's no decoration. The rotor is custom with the Pagani design logo, so they did that at least. However, not much else to talk about. It is an automatic manual automatic winding with hand winding, hacking and hand winding available. So over the last year and a half, I've not had any issues with timekeeping or power reserve. It has been very reliable and very consistent. So I mean, it's not the most accurate watch out there, but it does the job. And if you're looking for accuracy, then this is not the watch for you. But however, it's not that I set it for 9:30 one day and then next day it's losing 5 minutes or 4 minutes or gaining a couple of minutes. No, it's a more we'll talk about accuracy in a bit, but it's just a couple of seconds apart. So I would say about like 15 to 20 seconds or maximum 30 seconds plus minus, give or take. That should be the margin of error for these watches, and within that margin it's pretty okay. I have not had any major issues with timekeeping. It's not like it's gaining several minutes in for a couple of hours where I would be concerned or send the watch back. So it keeps good time, and if you're not crazy about second to second accuracy, you should be okay. Now, what else can we talk about the watch itself? Let's talk about the clasp. The clasp is actually very nice. So it is resembling the Oyster clasp from Rolex, like that. So it goes like this. It has the Pagani design logo. There is a insert for your nail to come in and open it. So you have that clasp. and then you just it's like a lift lock. You lift it up, it opens. There you go. It is polished all across, and the edges are brushed, the centers are polished, and it's not bad at all. The quality is actually pretty decent. So just locks back into place and then closes for double security. Over here you can see that, let me open it up. So there is an option to do micro adjustment. I don't know if I can show you, but there are 3 holes here that you can micro adjust if you want to make it tighter or less tighter. That's totally up to you. So yeah, no issues in that. And there is no diving extension on this, so it doesn't like open up or go back or anything. It doesn't extend like the Rolex does, because and that you can see that in the Submariner model. So this one you have to micro adjust using tools. So that's about the clasp itself. I've not had any issues with that either. No corrosion, no rusting. It is all stainless steel 316L. No problems with rusting or any damage, and it's held up pretty nicely, I would say, long term. No problems. The crown hasn't fallen off on me. The second hasn't broken like it did on the Yema. So yeah, I mean, it is good for what it is. So that's it, the review for the Pagani design GMT, guys. This also comes, if you want, it comes in the Pepsi bezel too, but then you will not get the ceramic. You will get aluminum bezel. If you're okay with that, that's also an option. They do make Submariner homages as well, and a couple of others. They've got a lot. They are basically an homage company. So if you check their site, they have a lot of others going on, and you can find them on Amazon for very decent prices. So keeping that in mind, I mean, if you're into homages and you like the Batman design but don't want to spend the money on it or make the effort of finding it at retail, and this is the way to go. I mean, I did this for you guys so that you guys have an idea that homages aren't all bad. You can go with these, and it is pretty decent. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention some mineral crystal. It's not sapphire, or is it? Let me check 1 second. And this is sapphire crystal, so that's pretty good. So really, it on paper, it's a spec monster. I mean, what else do you want? I mean, this is pretty much everything that you look for in an everyday beater watch, right? So, and then Seikos are getting more and more expensive. You know, instead of spending $400, $300 or $500 a Seiko with similar specs, just get this, use it as a beater, you know. So yeah, overall my review is pretty positive for this, and I would recommend it if you are into homage watches and are looking for a Batman design. So until then, guys, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more content coming your way. Take care. Bye bye.